Now, one thing about Trump is that he is crazy, but he's not stupid. So when he's talking about, it's catching people by surprise. Like, why does he want to take over Greenland? Why is he talking about Panama? Well, it's all water. Panama situation is interesting. In my quick 60-second, we talked about how Panama was, that whole situation came about. But what I didn't mention is that Panama was actually the Panama Canal, the deal that was worked out for America to get control over the Panama Canal was done by a Frenchman. It's a very complicated story, but Panama used to be owned by Colombia, and the Frenchman came in. He wanted to build the canal, so he kind of convinced the Panamanians that if they would ride with him, he would have America back them up, so they can declare their independence from Colombia. And in return, they made him an ambassador, and he went to Washington and sold the Panama Canal to the government. They signed a treaty. Not one Panamanian signed that treaty. So that's why when Trump says we have legal rights, he's referring. It's important to know the history, because when you just hear him talk, you're just saying like, "Yo, this guy's crazy."
Sounds crazy.
Yeah, but it's vitally important because it's one of the most important waterways in the world. Now, the Greenland thing is even more interesting because global warming is real, and there's a new ocean that's being formed because the ice is melting. So that new water ocean is going to be vitally important when it opens up. So there's already people that's vying for it: Russia, Canada, America, and a country that's not even anywhere close to it, China. So when he says he wants to take over Greenland, he's not just saying something that's just, people just hear him just say stuff because he doesn't explain. He's just like, I want to take Greenland. We're taking back Panama Canal.
We're renaming the Gulf of Mexico.
These are strategic moves that he's trying to make, and they're all based on water.
Yeah, and water.
Greenland seems interested.
Yeah, well, water is obviously the way that trade works. Is there's a couple ways. It's going to go through air. It's going to go through land. Or it's going to go through water. And so those canals provide tradeways. So this is something you learn in like global studies, like in high school. So like, yeah, Panama Canal, you learn about the Suez Canal, but like what you're saying now is like, yes, solar caps, right? The North and South solar caps, they have receded a bit. Waterways are now opening. That helps trade, right? It might cost you less to travel, which is going to help the bottom line. It all comes down to money when you look at it, right? If I can get to point A to B in an expedited fashion and it's going to cost me less fuel or less oil, I save on that, but now I get to trade more frequently. That's what this is about. How do we now trade with having better routes?
And the most powerful nations on the world always controlled water. Water was always important. We talk about Mansa Musa, but his brother was the king of the sea. They had a whole kingdom on the sea.
Shot, you cooking.
It's a fact.
Talk to him, historian.
Rome, Greece.
Yep.
Look at England. It's an island nation. The reason why they became so strong is because of their navy. So historically, the strongest empires always controlled the sea, always controlled water. Water has always been vitally important, and countries have always controlled water, and people have died and went to war over water. So Trump is carrying on tradition. Those Julius Caesar type, like he's really full-fledged, aggressively trying to take over nations, not for any, just no reason at all, because he understands the importance of the water.
And given how polluted our nation is, if we looked at all major countries on earth, we have the highest pollution and poison rates in the country. Like if we look at all the runoff that goes into our waterways, even, there are certain things that are permissible in the United States of America that are not permissible in other countries.
100%.
You can see all the genetic defects that happen as a result of it, cancer rates as a result of it. So yeah, I think it's a very strategic move, but even for most of our farming, like the soil isn't as good as it used to be. our rivers, lakes, and ocean. Like you'll go. That's why people will go to other countries and be like, well, how does Turk's water look like this when our rivers look like what they do here in the States? I'm like, well, they don't allow commercial boating and fishing 24 hours a day. It's different. So it probably would behoove us, especially for the 1% of the 1%, to have another greener land to go to as well. No pun intended.
Greener land, I like that.
Yeah. Well, Trump's on it. He's not even in office yet.
Yeah, next week.
Democrats, remember what I told y'all didn't have no other Democratic superstars coming up? And y'all kill me for it? We just try and help. We are just trying to help. Gavin, you're done. It's over with. I don't want to hear that you didn't know what a travesty or a tragedy this fucking big, you don't, to the parent with the kid, I'm sorry, that you didn't know how this happened. You're a leader. Like this wouldn't happen in Brazil, let alone it should happen in California.
The
You think
fire?
he'll be able to be president after this? Yes.
The fire? What could he have done to prevent the fire?
It's above my pay grade. I like living.
Appreciate it.
It's legislation from his party. How's that? That's safe.
Hypothetically. Y'all on the book tour too? I don't...
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I'm just saying hypothetically things that could have.
The reservoir was offline. As a leader and as a man and as an entrepreneur and CEO, the number one waking thought has to be, what's the one thing that can destroy all of this? Every day. So everyone plans for the ups, and as a trader, you learn this. Mitigation of all risk. At all costs. What's the worst? Like our country does everything post-disaster. You have to have preventative measures in place to protect the empire that you built. And if I was an enemy of it, which I don't, because I love this country and all the people in it, but you don't think BRICS is looking at that and saying, damn, we don't even have to drop the little nukes we got that we stole that y'all had the drones in Jersey looking for.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
So you think Trump, Trump taking office, him being very aggressive as far as his geopolitical takeovers, even saying that he's potentially going to invade Mexico, turn Canada into the 51st state, take back the Panama Canal, take over Greenland from Denmark. What do you feel about these?
I think some of these he's just talking. I don't think he'll be able to take.
But it's setting the tone. No, of course he can't take over.
But it sets the tone.
It sets the tone, though. You say crazy things, so it's like this is like psychologically, right? Like if you're a player on a team and you shoot every single shot from half court, that's crazy. But then when you shoot a 30-footer, it's not looked at.
It's not that bad.
Not that bad. It's a good shot.
Yep. LaMelo. LaMelo cooking. Angelo swerve at that corner. Ooh,
swerve.
I do think. Whoa. But I do think one of these will go through.
Which one? Because any type of seizure in the past is not seizure, but takeover has required military action.
He said that he's fine with that.
And that's what I'm saying. So in order to have the military action, who do you think or where do you think the military action goes first? And is it a new type of war? Because yes, in the past it was military we're talking about guns and force, right? But it could be a technological war. You could just send drones and which place, if you had, and again, we're not wishing this on anybody, but hypothetically speaking, what would be the most likely target?
I never want to go to war with anybody I'm close to or neighbor, so that would eliminate Canada and Mexico. I do see, though, and we talked about this privately, I think worldwide, though, there's going to be a red MAGA wave that sweeps. And we're seeing it now with Trudeau stepping down and other countries having a more super conservative tone. I think Greenland is probably who we'll come to a deal with first. I don't think it'll be a hostile full takeover, but I can see, given that some of the political figures there are open to having that conversation, I can see it happening in Greenland.
No, it's
For
definitely a right wing wave that's taken over the whole entire globe. But even, as far as how he's talked about these things, shows a lot about how he looks at the world. In Greenland, he said that he was aggressive in his tone, but it was an economic aggression. He said he wants to force the sale of Greenland from Denmark. In Panama, he said he's taking back the canal, and if not, then he would explore having troops on the ground to forcibly take it. What's the difference between Greenland and Panama?
I think it's an easier job to get done in Greenland.
What's the other difference?
The people who live there, what they look like.
Rashad, good point.
Allegedly.
LaMelo. What will LaMelo do?
Swerve in that corner.
Hit that corner. Oh,
swerve in that corner.
Top of the key. Oh, gotcha. That's a great point.
We'll monitor the situation.
We'll monitor the situation, ladies and gentlemen. New age
Let's clap it up for Rashad being a historian.
We don't want no trouble
at all.
You gotta know. Gotta know the past to know the future. And the same thing, history always repeats itself. New age imperialism, China's trying to take back Taiwan. So all this stuff, empires always want to conquer other empires. This has happened since the beginning of empires. That's happens. America did imperialism. America owned the Philippines. Did you know that? Very few people know that. They took Hawaii. That was very sad.
Guam. Guam is still American territory.
Puerto Rico. So America kind of gets left out of this imperialist conversation because it's always talked about like Great Britain and France. They didn't go that far, but they went pretty far.
Yeah.
I mean, Hawaii is nowhere near America. Nowhere close.
Stripped all culture.
Alaska too.
Yeah, Alaska at least is somewhat closer.
It's on the. I mean, it's part of North America.
Hawaii,
you got a whole country between it.
They had no rights to take Hawaii. That was just. I just want this. I'm gonna need it.
Yeah.
Thank you. What can you do? You deserve to be rich.
Way.
You deserve it.
You deserve to be rich.
You got a different country separating Alaska from the 48 continental states. A whole nother country.
And Russia made that decision. Bad move.
The Bering Strait.
They took California technically as a part of Mexico. So is
Texas, so is New Mexico.
And Texas is actually its own republic after this game. After that,
did you see the president of Mexico?
Kudos to her.
She's taking back Texas.
He was like, "We're gonna start renaming things. Let's have the proper names for what America is."
I mean, even the irony of Mexico having to go help save California, which is once theirs. New Mexico as well.
Even prisoners working on the wildfire.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
It says a lot about the times that we're in.
Is that in the topic list for Wednesday, please?
Prisoners working for 10 hours a day,
please,
to put out fires.
I'm gonna call in.
Please do.
Like
that is.
We talked about it before, but like we have the publicly traded index, clean companies list. The businesses that run America that are not publicly traded, that are the underbelly of America, like that. And Lord forbid if something happens to the prisoners, who gets the life insurance? Like 2025 has been so wild, we don't even have to talk about no conspiracy. We could just talk about what people can see now. It's right with 12 days in.